Hello everyone. I know you are all very excited to hear about LIMS, but I just start by setting the mood and asking a question. Are you a lab owner, or do you know of someone who owns a lab or work with someone who owns a lab? Then you would know that there is a lot of moving parts in a lab environment. And just think about the impact that it would have when you can reduce manual labor and implement automated processes and workflows. And I am going to do that by introducing GoodX LIMS, our laboratory module. So GoodX LIMS provides an innovative solution for lab management, putting control in your hands. I am Tiaan Uys, and I'm a developer here at GoodX. And a laboratory information management system is designed to improve lab efficiency by managing samples, data, workflows. It automates processes, reduces human error, and provides real-time data access, which makes this indispensable for modern laboratories. I want to highlight some key features and concepts that regards our GoodX LIMS system. We provide an intuitive user interface, which makes it really easy to interact with the LIMS system. It is a cloud integration, which means that the data can be accessed from anywhere at any location. And it has real-time data access, which means that you can have up-to-date access of your data in your LIMS system. We have a lot of customizable workflows so that this system is set up for your lab specifically. And just with that configuration part is that we can set up our LIMS system from the base upwards. And we'll start with tests and laboratories. The most basic part of your LIMS system is your pathology setup. And we have a lot of setup, from log codes, production codes, down to element codes, which is the basic elements of the test that will be tested. There's different things that you can set up on the element codes, on what type of sample it can be run, for what gender, and all that type of things. Think about doing reference ranges, setting up your reference ranges for a specific test, for a specific gender, for a specific age, and for a specific specimen type, which means that this reference range is automatically selected in combination to what patient will, this test will be done on, what tube type will be used, because there's different tube types that can be used for different tests, and based on that, there can be different reference ranges. We've gone all out that you can set up everything, your specimen types, the type of specimen it is, the volume of the specimen. You can set up the storage temperature of the specimen. So it's really, really customizable, all out the pathology setup. The next setup is your analyzers and your labs, which means that you can set up your analyzer that does a specific test, let's take FBC, in a specific lab. So what we then do is, once this test is ordered, we go and with an algorithm go and select that this test should be done on that analyzer in that lab. And what's more powerful is that you can disable your analyzers, for instance, if it's out of order or there's maintenance being done on it, you can disable it for a period, and then once a new test like that is scheduled, we're based on the routing algorithm, based on backup labs, we can then route it to another testing facility. So it means that your samples are prioritized and it reaches your testing facility in a lot more efficiently. But yeah, everything is in your control, your backup labs and everything, where your specimens go, you can set it up. So the power is really in your hands of how this looks like. There's more. There's user roles, clinical roles, and stuff that can be set up as well. If we think about user configuration, you know how privileges work and how you can grant what people see and people don't see based on privileges that you give them. With this LIMS system, we went a step further. Not just can you manage what they are allowed to see, but you can put it into different roles. So we have different groups that we can link your user to, and based on those groups that's assigned to a user, we automatically generate a list like that in the right top corner. We automatically generate a list of roles that your user can be, and then you can select different roles. And once a role is selected, we can automatically hide screens so that role can only see what is assigned to it. And this makes it very powerful. It makes it efficient, because once you're a logger, it means that you can only see the things a logger should see. It's not only, it doesn't only apply to privacy, but it also optimizes your workflow. Because if you're a logger, you don't want to be cluttered by a lot of buttons that you don't need to see. If you look at the few buttons that's there, if you're a logger, if I just go back and you're an administrator, there's a lot of, we don't even, not just hide screens, we hide buttons and stuff as well. So it optimizes your workflow based on the role that you select, so that for today, you want to work as a pathologist, but tomorrow, the logger is not there. You want to work as a logger, then you can quickly change your role and you can access different screens, and it just makes it much more efficient. And also think, when you are an administrator of those roles, that you can see what your people see. You can be in their position and check what they can see and that type of thing. So it also provides that advantage. Now, when we start to talk about protocols and rules, this gets very exciting. We've gone and designed a whole rule engine, and we've also done it on a convenient drag and drop interface. And this is a real powerful engine. And just to start the top part there, there's a few triggers that you can set up, which is used to trigger the rule. Think about a requisition, think about a test, a specimen, and different statuses that they can be in when they should be triggered. Think about a workflow event that can be triggered when it reaches a specific stage. And you can set this up on what tests or what everything you can set up. And just to use this as an example, you can see that there is a few conditions that it will evaluate, and when all of those conditions are met, then you can action a true action, or if it is false and you want to do something, you can implement actions on a falsy statement as well. And if you think of actions, what it can do, it's not just you can send emails or SMSs or stuff, but go a step further. Think about blocking validation or validating something, adding a new test, adding billing codes, removing billing codes, doing all these things with the rules, and it makes it so powerful. Just for this rule specifically, to give you an example, is that this is a rule for a blood group test. So in this configuration, if some of the test has this results, then the outcome of the blood group test is positive. So it evaluates each test as it comes in. It evaluates the rule that it linked to, and based on the results, we can then trigger the actions. Now, we can also implement automations in the sense that we only look at test results. With the previous rules, you can look at different criteria. You can look at patient age. You can look at who is the client, and we'll get to that, who's the client that ordered this requisition, and all those other types of things that you also want to include in your rule. But for this automations, it purely triggers on the result of a test. So then think about calculations. If you think a lipid profile, there's some test that's a calculation of the results of different tests. So then when those answers come in of the test, on the formula that you calculate, obviously there's standard formulas, but you can type in any formula and it will evaluate that formula for you. And this also reduces human error. It makes it so much more efficient, because once the results are in, it triggers the calculation, and the calculation is done for you. There's not just the calculations based on other criteria. You can then also add comments and automate processes, add a test. If one test is positive, and based on a positive result, you can add different tests. You can do that with the simple automations that we do. We also have it integrated into our billing. So you can set up your billing codes in our billing price list. You can set up codes, billing codes, and then link that to specific tests. And once you select this test and order this test, for instance, FBC and a lipid profile, once you order them, an invoice is automatically generated based on that information, based on the billing code, the ICD-10. If you go there, the ICD-10 is there, and it then creates your invoice and automatically populate those billing line items. In this case, you can also have multiple invoices on a requisition. In the case that a patient came or the doctor sent a request, they ordered some tests, there was one invoice, it was already settled, there was like 4 tests done on it, 4 billing line items, it was done, and later on the doctor calls, no, please also add this test on this requisition. So you don't have to go and redo the whole invoice, you just add another invoice. It just automatically creates a new invoice and then adds it to the new invoice. Think of rules. Think of adding billing line items if the patient was a remote collection or something like that. That you can trigger with your rules. So your whole clinical process drives your billing. So you're for sure that nothing is missed in the process. So we also set up the clients, and if you think about clients, think about that form or the mnemonic and all the little blocks that you have on there that you can order the test. That we see as a client that can order from your lab. So connected to this client, this mnemonic, is a few entities, and this can be a combination of different entities. It can be practitioners, wards, hospitals. So you can communicate or you can link different entities to a mnemonic. And what makes that so powerful is not just communication, but you can also link. So if you look at this, there's in the top there is just general information, the mnemonic, and then description that gives you a bit more detail. You can add documents if you want documents on file, let's say SLA contracts and stuff like that you want to link to this client. You can add that to the system. And so this field here is where you then link different practitioners and hospitals to this client. And based on this, I'll get to the communication now, but you can also do a billing scheme override. So let's say you have Dr. John Doe that works at Hospital Y, and he uses one mnemonic, then you can set it up in that way. Think about then Dr. John Doe that works in his own practice, but he is also part of a research group, and they use their own mnemonic for the research group. In the case of the research group, you want the research group to pay for the test. You don't want the patient or the medical aid to pay for the test. You want the research group to pay for the test because that's a contract you have with them. So you link them to a data file, and the billing is then built on their account. So not the patient, not the medical aid, but the client receives the bill. And what you can also do is you can have a price list link to that specific client. So when that invoice is automatically created, it goes and looks up, is there a data linked to this client? Yes, the data should be built. Is there a special price list linked to this data? Then it overrides your price list and use the price list as the price list to be built against. So this makes it very powerful on the billing side because our billing is integrated. On the communication side, it enhances not only your patient's experience, but also the people that uses your lab. It also improves and enhances their experience because you can set up different events on a client. So let's say Dr. John Doe only wants to receive emails, you link that contact reference to them, and the hospital also want to receive, but they only want to receive SMSs, so you don't have to go and jump through hoops. You just set up a contact reference, and once the results are available in the configuration, let's say it's critical or urgent results, then once something is urgent and that we have a result, we communicate the results to the specific entity with the specific contact preference listed to them. It can be an email, SMS. It can be a grant exchange event that you link to them. So as soon as the results are available, you get the results. So it enhances your efficiency of when you see the results as well. The last thing I want to mention with configuration is that we also connect with lab instruments through a middleware. So once a test is done on an analyzer and that analyzer is linked to the middleware, we push orders to the middleware, and if the results are available, we then receive the results directly from the analyzer. So the results are instantly available once the tests are completed. Again, think about the rules. Think about immediately doing something when the result is available. So now that we've done the whole setup of our system that we can configure to your liking, I want to show you how we optimize the process of this whole journey. And we start with logging a requisition, ordering tests. So you start, and I think it's important to start with the work list. You know the list screens, but now you can use your list screens as a work list. So you can see that there's different color codings. If something is urgent, it goes and it is on top. I'll get to timers now, but once the timer is depleted, it goes and it lies on the top there. There's different filters. If you are a pathologist that only work with neonatal patients, you only see requisitions that a neonatal baby is linked to. And you can see open requisitions, closed requisitions. You can see there's a whole work list that you can go through. If you look to the right here, you can assign this link, the requisition to a specific user. So if you want someone specific to, if the patient, let's say the patient has someone that they want as a phlebotomist, then you can assign your requisition to a specific phlebotomist, and then they can filter this list based on the requisitions that is assigned to them. They will see their list, they can action their work list for the day. So on that side, you then also enhances your patient experience, because then they know they will get the phlebotomist that they are comfortable with. So we start with the work list, and then there's two buttons. You can add a requisition, or you can create a requisition from a prescription. So talking about this whole AI buzz and everything, if you create a requisition from a prescription, you take your form, you upload it, and then we use AI to select the patient that it is prescribed to, the client that it is prescribed to. It automatically detects the test, so it then gives you a pre-populated screen with the patient information, with the test that is ordered on this form. So then we start you off, so it enhances your efficiency as a logger as well. So all that you have to do is you have to review the request. You see, based on AI, we say that it is that you always have to review. So you then just review what the AI selected for you, and you can continue. If you just create a normal requisition, then you select your tests, and then you select your client and the lab that you are currently working on. Here you can do also patient extra ad hoc communications. If the client wants extra communications, or the patient wants extra communications, let's say the patient have an email linked to their account, but they also want to receive an email on a different email, they can set it up here. And so they will receive the test results also on that email. If you look here, there's some log profiles that you can link to clients, and if it's a campaign, let's say there's some discount on some tests, then you can populate this list here. Once the validity period of that campaign is done, this will not show, but you can also link it to specific clients. So not all clients have the stuff, have the log profiles linked to them. So then it just won't show. So then you create a requisition, and then automatically, once the requisition is created, an invoice is made with your billing. So let's talk about your samples, the next step, but I first want to show you dynamic questionnaires. So why this is tied to sample and sample collection is, you as a phlebotomist want to ask some questions before you do your phlebotomy. And what we have done is we create a dynamic form builder. So don't think of our templates, which is a one template with only one set of questions. What we do is there's questions linked to the test. So if that test is ordered, we then create your questionnaire based on those questions. So we dynamically build up your questionnaire. And what's even more powerful is that you can use these answers as a result to a test. So if you want the patient to see their answers on the report, it can be done because you link it to a test. It will show on the report. You can use it to trigger workflows. For instance, if on some glucose test, if a patient is not fasting, the results will be inaccurate. You can trigger a workflow, block the phlebotomy, or don't validate this test because the patient wasn't fasting when this was done. So this is a very powerful tool to also help and make this efficient and enhance productivity. So this is our specimens that is created for this. Let me just say this patient will be drained after the session. So this is all the specimens that should be taken from the patient. There's a nice work list. There's some check marks that you have to do to make sure that everything is in place before you can start the phlebotomy. Once that checklist is completed, we then automatically unblock some of the actions. You can then continue in your process. You can scan barcodes, link barcodes, generate barcodes, and all of these things. There's one thing there that I need to highlight is a non-conformity task. When in each step of the process, you can create a non-conformity task, and then a task will be created, and you can assign it to someone, and someone can action this task later. So that in any of this process, if let's say the patient doesn't give their consent for this specific specimen, can create a task. You can then either schedule it for a later time or something like that. Someone will action the task. And we've also done a concept of a trip sheet, which allows you to see where your sample is at any stage. So the patient was bled here, or you received the samples here, but it will be tested in another facility. And then with the trip sheets, you know exactly in that process where the specimen is. You check it in here, you know that it is in transit, you know when the specimen was received at the designated testing facility, and you can then unbox it there, and you can then log. When you unbox it, you can log, was the specimen there? Is it in good shape? Or was it broken? Is it missing? So at all the stages, you know exactly in real time where your specimens are, or what the status they are in, and you have control over everything. So then the next step is results and validation. Like I mentioned, you can link up with a analyzer through middleware, and you can receive results. Otherwise, you can also enter results manually, and there's some tests that's manual capture, and there's different type of results. There's text fields, there's numbers, there's images. If you only want a list of answers, there's a drop down with a list of answers that's valid for this test. And that is all stuff that you can set up. We also have this mechanism where there's a double result entry for manual capture to ensure that your data is correctly populated. If it is not, you have to start the process over. And also you can set up, if it's a real critical test, you can set it up that the same session can't log both of the results. So that means that either another user should log the answer, or then you should log out, and after a while then populate the answer. And then if the results match, it automatically populates your next or your final result. And if we look at validation, so here is where you can see exactly what the results are. You can see if it's in another color, it is either critical, it's outside of normal ranges, and you can action it with reruns. You can trigger a rerun if you think that this test was something wrong. You need to do a new test. You can see if there's rerun schedule. There's a list of old rerun previous results that you can see. You can see anteriority results, which means you can see results of the past 6 months for this specific patient, for this specific test element code. So the basic block, you can see the result of. You can comment on your test, and the comments are so customizable. You can add comments to your test, but when you report, you can say, should this comment be printed on the patient, what the report that the patient sees, or the report that the doctor sees? Should it print on the results? Should it print on your whole category, just as a general comment? You can use images and text. You can generate your comments based on a voice note that's been dictated. And using AI, you can generate comments. So the comment structure is real powerful. And then talking about compliance, our reports are instant, so you can preview reports instantly based on the results you have, or it gets auto-populated or auto-generated and sent to your contact preferences that you set up. Just to show you a preview of how our report looks, this is some tests that were done. This is a result that's in a normal range. This is a result that's outside of your normal ranges. You can do a picture, you can do a comment, and all of this then shows. You can see your specimens that it was done on. So this is a whole compliant report. There's a comment that is made on a whole category. In this way, that you can customize what your patient will see. With your results, with our rules engine, you can trigger that a patient result should be should be changed to come see me or go see your employer or something like that. And that can be based on a rule that you set up based on the specific patient or the specific client that ordered the test. And you can actually manage exactly the outcome and the results that the patient and either the doctor will see. This is the phlebotomist that validated this results, so we automatically populate the fields as well. So just some real world impact is that results and errors in results is reduced by about 30%, and then also it increases your report speeds by 40%. So it means you can make quicker decisions with accurate results. So yes, that is how we transform laboratories with the GoodX LIMS system, placing the power in your hand, automating processes, reducing manual labor. And if you want to see a demo, we are there in the dev room. If you have some questions and some discussions, you are more than welcome. Thank you.